Hi everyone. So for this Friday reminder, I wanted to add a note about your projects. I know I just sent a note out about the midterms. I talked about the final that's coming in like 7 weeks. And now here I am talking about the projects. I do not do this to overwhelm you. I want to give you plenty of time to be thinking about these things and also to make sure that you are aware that these things are happening, because I know most of you are taking multiple classes, a lot of you work and have families, and so for me to expect you to just know like, oh hey, week 14, 4 weeks away, you're gonna have a project due, for me to expect you to remember that 4 weeks out is silly, right? So this is me trying to take the time to make sure that you guys are aware of it and to go over some of the parameters of the project with you so that you can be more successful and hopefully start early, because this will take a bit of time. And so I really, truly hope that you guys get going on it as soon as you can and maybe work on it off and on with other things that you're doing in other classes. Okay, so and I know there's a different section number on here. If you're in I-10, it's okay. All the information's the same, so don't worry about that. If we go to weeks 13 through 17, which is the end, if you can believe it. So the week we're doing the Civil War, week 14, is when you have your project due. Your project is due that Sunday, November 21st, so it's due before Thanksgiving. I like to, as you may have noticed, because you had midterms like the week before fall break, I very much like to have things due before a holiday in an effort to allow you to actually have a holiday. So in week 14, you see here are the lecture materials for week 14, just that's normal. Then underneath, everything for the projects is in here. So there's an example presentation. This is a different topic. So it's for a different class. But it's a presentation. So it's not just here are the slides the student did. It's them actually talking and giving their project. So it kind of, like this says, provides an example of balancing content and narration, because you are going to have to present your projects as well. And you want to be sure that it's not slides full of text, but also that you have some things on your slides and you balance that speaking piece, which hopefully you'll have notes already prepared and everything like that, with what's on your slides, with the content that you are showing. Okay. So, and also this is very important. As per the rubric, you must have your name on the title slide. For privacy purposes, there's no name on the title slide of this student's example presentation. Their name was removed by me for privacy purposes before I uploaded it into Blackboard. Section, we have the document files of all of the instructions. So you have two options with this project. You can either create your own monument or memorial, and that comes with other pieces. There are other pieces to that project. You have to do existing research on existing monuments and memorials. You have to create a pamphlet with a statement of significance and purpose for your memorial or monument. And all of that is in the instructions. So you have instructions right here. That's the actual document. And then you have a video of me just going over the instructions and explaining them. And your second option is an educational outreach plan. Again, there's a document right there for you. And there's the video of me going over it. This is to identify gaps in knowledge, historical knowledge about a particular event or person or something that you pick from the semester's timeline. Again, this all has to be from the semester's timeline. And all the details are in here, but basically once you do that and you identify the gaps and it tells you how to do that, you are going to create an educational outreach plan and a digital exhibit for filling in those gaps in historical knowledge. So again, the actual instructions are here. Videos of me going over the instructions are here. And then below that, you actually have monuments for each of the project pieces. So if I click on one, for example, we'll just see what this is here. Okay, so this is the monument/memorial rubric. And as you can see, there's a content section and then there's a presentation section because you will be presenting your projects, which is why there was that example presentation in that first part. So here's your visitor pamphlet. This is the did a great job column. This first one did a good job, okay, ranging between okay and good, and just doesn't have the pieces that are needed here. So you can see that this total is 65 points. A perfect visitor pamphlet is going to get 20 points. A perfect monument design is going to get 20 points. Perfect use of primary sources, citations, and research going to get 15 points. Perfect research on existing monuments going to get 10 points. And then here are the presentation elements that you need to make sure that you read the descriptions of what the excellent ones are. So that is the rubric for that piece. Again, there's a second option, which is creating your educational outreach plan and doing a digital exhibit. So it's kind of a choose your own adventure. You can look at these and see which one sounds more fun to you. So you conduct surveys of at least 2 people about whatever it is you want to do your project on. And there in the instructions document, there are example questions to ask for your surveys that are neutral and non-leading to make sure that you don't intimidate the person into saying that they do know something that they don't know or anything like that. So, and then there's everything mentioning what you need, your exhibit, and then you're going to present the exhibit. You're going to address any gaps in historical awareness you found. So all of these, again, have very clear guidelines laid out. So you want to make sure that you look over those. So those are your 2 project options. All of the information is in here. However, it's due week 14, but you don't submit it in week 14 because in week 15, folks are going to come in and visit your projects as part of that short week. We only have Monday and Tuesday, so I couldn't really assign a bunch of stuff for us to do. And I want everybody to interact with projects and provide feedback. The instructions for each project also at the very end, where it talks about presenting it, mention things to keep in mind when giving feedback on somebody's project. So the monument one, for example, talks about responsible representation. That's something to keep in mind when you give feedback on a classmate's project. So for week 15, this is where you're going to submit your projects in here. And it's the discussion board thread. So everybody's going to be able to see everybody's project. And then you're going to visit at least 2 classmates' projects. There are things that you need to present, but don't, strike that, reverse it, Willy Wonka style. There are things that you need to have in the project, but don't need to present. For example, if we go back to the rubric for the monument and memorial, you need to have that research on at least 3 existing monuments or memorials. However, so you have that here, that is not part of the presentation at all. So you do not need to record that when you present, but it needs to be slides just kind of tucked in the back. So if you upload your slides and then you upload your presentation, then I can go into the slides and I can look at the things that are part of the project, like the research on existing monuments and the citations and things like that. Like if you have a references slide that you maybe didn't present because you focused on the other pieces that are actually in here, like making sure your topic was clear, making sure your presentation of your design was clear, making sure you did responsible representation, making sure you stay within the time frame, all of those things. So you may not talk about this at all because it's not required to talk about it, but you need to have it in the project somewhere. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind. All right, so everything you need for the projects is in the aptly labeled folder in week 14, and then you will submit it in week 15, even though it's due Sunday, November 21st. So by 11:59 p.m. Sunday, November 21st, it needs to be in here. And then just like this past, break week where we had that short week and I had the official due date versus it's not late if it's submitted. So due Tuesday, but you got to submit it by Friday, which is a holiday, right? So that's why it's officially due Tuesday. but there is no late penalty for submitting by Friday at 11:59 p.m. So I know it's out there, it's 4 weeks away, but hopefully, as you can tell, there are some varying elements involved in creating the project. And hopefully that means that you are going to prepare and get ready. The other handout I included that I did not open, but I'll just show you briefly, is just a general handout that I created on presenting and just giving a presentation more broadly. So as you can see, it's so short, right? And it's just very, you know, you're going to create a PowerPoint presentation for your project. Follow the instructions. Did you include a statement of your monument's purpose and significance in the digital visitor pamphlet and your presentation of that? So make sure you include everything. Make sure it's clear what your topic or your individual is. I shouldn't get to the very end of your presentation and learn that your memorial was for Abigail Adams, for example. That should be very clear. Well-chosen pictures that add value. And I mentioned in going over those instructions, you know, how to create designs. You might do something very, very creative because you're super artistic. Other folks might have multiple images from Google Images kind of on a slide. And then when they present, they describe to us what the design actually is by discussing the images that they put in here and how they work together and what the monument would actually look like. Again, that's in those instructions. So this is, again, just a general kind of thing to keep in mind. And you have that example presentation to use as well that's up here. Okay, so that's it for presenting and submitting your project and what the project options are. Students get really creative with these. I've enjoyed the submissions. I started doing this in fall of 2020, and students really enjoy it. They tend to do quite well on it because they enjoy it and they find it interesting. But you have to devote time to it in order to do well, because as you've seen on those rubrics and as you've seen very briefly in my discussion here, there are multiple elements to each project option. So as always, as you're working on your projects, if you have any questions, let me know. It is due on Sunday, November 21st. So if that Thursday, a few days before Sunday, November 21st, you have something kind of together and you want to get my feedback on it, please feel free to email it to me. You can also attend office hours and share your screen and show me what you're working on, and I can give feedback that way. So please do not hesitate to reach out. The only time I would say no is if it's like a Sunday afternoon and you're like, can you look at my project? And it's due in a few hours. I'm probably not going to be checking my email at 8 p.m. Sunday. And also that's a little bit late for me to actually take the time to look at it and give good feedback, because I want to give you good feedback if you're showing me a draft so that I can help you make sure that your final project is as strong as possible. So again, feel free to contact me with any questions. Feel free to share works in progress with me. I love these projects. They tend to be, like I said, just excellent and creative and fun. And just remember that you have to do something from our semester's timeline, so the 1400s to 1877. All right, that's all for now. Feel free to reach out to me with any questions that you have.